The space station Orion 9 floated like a dying ghost in the middle of the red nebula. Its lights flickered weakly, and the metal walls groaned with every breath of the void. Inside, Eli Ward, a human engineer, worked alone. His job was to repair the oxygen lines before the station ran out of air. The emergency alarms had been silent for hours, yet something in the air felt wrong. The corridors were filled with a thin red fog, like smoke mixed with blood and starlight. Every sound echoed too long. Every shadow seemed to move a little when he wasn't looking. Eli wiped sweat from his face and muttered to himself, "Calm down, Ward. Just finish the job." He floated through a broken hallway, holding his flashlight. The beam cut through the fog but revealed almost nothing. Then he froze. There, at the far end of the corridor, stood a silhouette. A figure, a woman. She didn't wear a suit. She wasn't supposed to be there. Eli blinked, thinking it was a reflection. But she stepped closer, her silver hair flowing like smoke in zero gravity. Her eyes glowed faint red, reflecting the nebula's light. Her skin looked pale and smooth, almost made of glass. Eli's mind went blank. He whispered without thinking, "She has a very nice ass." The woman stopped. Slowly a smile curved on her lips. "I can read your mind," she said softly. Eli's blood turned cold. The tools in his belt started to lift into the air on their own. One by one, the metal pieces floated, spinning around him. He tried to move back, but the gravity locks failed. The fog thickened until it felt alive. Who are you?" he stammered. The woman glided closer, not walking but drifting, her bare feet inches above the ground. "You should not have spoken. Your thoughts are loud, human." Her voice was calm, but echoed in his head, like she spoke both in sound and inside his brain. Eli grabbed a wrench and pointed it toward her like a weapon. "Stay back!" She tilted her head, amused. "You think that will help?" The wrench flew out of his hand and hit the wall. The lights above them flickered wildly. Red, then black, then red again. The air grew cold enough that Eli could see his breath. She moved closer until her face was only inches from his. Her eyes glowed brighter now, crimson pools of hunger and sadness. "You're human," she whispered, studying him. "I have not seen your kind for a long, long time." Eli's voice shook. "You're Velrathi, aren't you? The psychic vampires." Her smile faded. "You know the name of my dead race." Suddenly the metal beneath them cracked. A deep rumble echoed through the station. The deck shifted, and they both fell into zero gravity again. Eli floated helplessly, spinning, watching sparks fly. She reached out, caught his wrist, and pulled him toward her. For a moment their faces were so close that he could feel her cold breath on his cheek. "Why are you here?" he asked, trying to steady himself. She didn't answer. Her eyes looked distant, lost. Then she whispered, "I was sleeping, until someone's thoughts woke me." The fog around them started to swirl faster, forming shapes, faces, wings, whispers. Eli's heart pounded. His oxygen alarm beeped. He looked at her again. "If you can read my mind, you know I'm not your enemy." "I know," she said. "That is what makes you dangerous." Before Eli could speak, a loud explosion shook the entire station. A fire burst down the corridor, and the emergency lights turned red. She grabbed his arm, her strength inhuman. "Hold still, human," she said. "If I let you go, you die." Her eyes flared bright red. Everything around them froze, the fire, the smoke, even the falling debris. For a heartbeat, Eli saw a strange light flow between them, like a link of pure energy. Then everything went black. In the silence that followed, only her voice whispered through his mind. "You shouldn't have looked at me, Eli Ward. Now you can never leave me." Eli woke to the sound of his own breathing, heavy, shallow, uneven. The air smelled of metal and smoke. He was lying on a soft surface, not the hard floor of the ruined corridor. For a moment he thought he was dead. Then he felt a pulse, not his own. Something faint, cold, brushing against his thoughts. A voice whispered softly in his mind, "Do not move yet, human." His eyes snapped open. The alien woman was sitting beside him. Her pale skin glowed in the dim red light of the chamber. The fog was thinner here, trapped inside what looked like an old cryo room. Eli tried to sit up, but a wave of dizziness hit him. Where am I?" "In my chamber," she said, her tone calm but not kind. You nearly lost your breath when the fire burst. I saved you. He looked around. His oxygen tank was gone, replaced with a small breathing unit connected to the wall. You saved me, he said, confused. Why? I thought you wanted to kill me. She didn't answer right away. Her red eyes looked distant, tired. If I wanted you dead, I would have fed from your mind already. Eli swallowed hard. He touched his neck instinctively, expecting a wound. But there was none, only a strange warmth like static electricity. He stared at her. You didn't bite me. Her lips curved slightly. No, I don't need to anymore. That answer only made things worse. He leaned back, studying her. She looked like something sculpted out of light and shadow, beautiful and terrifying. The way her silver hair floated in the low gravity, the way her red eyes dimmed and brightened with each word. What are you? He asked quietly. Her gaze turned to him, sharp but not cruel. I am Sarah Val, last of the Velrathi. Eli froze. The Velrathi were legends, a psychic vampire race wiped out by humans centuries ago. That's impossible, he whispered. You're extinct. Extinct, she repeated softly. That is a human word for forgotten. I survived, buried in the deep fog for 200 years. He looked at the sealed doors. Then why save me? Sarah Val turned her head slightly, as if listening to something only she could hear. Because your thoughts were loud, honest. Humans lie with words but not with minds. Eli frowned. You read my thoughts? I hear everything, she said. Your fear, your curiosity, even the part of you that finds me beautiful. Eli's face flushed red. That's not fair. Her laughter was low, almost human. Fair. Nothing in this universe is fair. Not for my kind. Not for yours. She stood and walked toward the main door. The rescue ship you called is coming, she said. If they find me, they will kill me on sight. Your people still fear my name. Eli sat up. Then let's hide you. I'll tell them I found no one. Sarah Val turned back, surprised. You would lie for me? You saved my life, he said. That makes us even. Her eyes softened for the first time. You are strange, human. Suddenly a loud ping echoed through the chamber, a signal from the outer bay. The rescue ship had docked. Sarah Val moved quickly, her steps soundless. Do not speak of me, she warned. They will sense me through your fear. Stay calm. Before he could answer, she touched his forehead with 2 fingers. A jolt of cold energy shot through him. For a brief second he saw flashes in his mind, stars burning, cities falling, millions screaming. Her memories. Then it ended. When Eli opened his eyes again, she was gone. Only the red fog remained, curling around the edges of the room. The door burst open. Commander Hale and 2 soldiers entered, weapons raised. Ward, Hale shouted. We picked up strange energy readings. Are you alone? Eli hesitated. His mouth went dry. Somewhere in the shadows he felt her presence like a whisper in his ear. Remember, Eli, I can hear your mind. He looked Hale straight in the eye and said, Yes, sir. I'm alone. The fog behind him shimmered for a second, and then vanished completely. The sound of boots echoed through the ruined corridors of Orion 9. Human soldiers moved in lines, flashlights cutting through the red mist. Their commander Hale barked orders into his helmet comms. Scan every level. If there's something alive here, I want to see it. Eli followed behind, trying to stay calm. His heart beat fast, but his face stayed blank. He could still feel Sarah Val somewhere nearby, like a soft vibration inside his skull. She hadn't spoken since the rescue team arrived, but her silence wasn't absence. It was control, watching, listening. They reached the control deck, a wide chamber half burned from the explosion. The power lines sparked. Screens flickered with static. Hale pointed at the scorched floor. This isn't just fire damage, he said. Something fed here. I can feel it, Eli forced a laugh. You're imagining things, sir. Maybe the reactor vented plasma. Hale frowned. He didn't trust Eli, never had. Back on Titan Outpost, Hale and Eli had fought over a mission gone wrong, and over a woman who chose Eli instead. Now Hale looked like a man who finally had a reason to settle an old score. He leaned closer. You look nervous, Ward. Something you want to confess? Eli kept his voice steady. Only that I'm tired, Commander. Before Hale could reply, one of the soldiers screamed. His body convulsed, hands clutching his helmet. Voices! He shouted. Inside my head. Then he fell, twitching on the floor. The others aimed their rifles at nothing. The red fog grew thicker again, swirling around their feet. Eli knew this wasn't an attack. It was Saraval losing control. Her psychic shield must have weakened. She was bleeding through the mental noise. "Fall back," Hale yelled. The team dragged the soldier away. "There's something in this station. Lock down all decks." Eli pretended to follow, but as soon as Hale turned, he slipped away down a maintenance tunnel. The tunnel was narrow and dark, lit only by emergency lights. The further he went, the quieter the world became. The sounds of soldiers faded, replaced by a heartbeat. Hers. At the end of the tunnel, he found a shattered door. Inside, Saraval knelt beside a power conduit, her body trembling. The light from her skin flickered like a candle. "You're bleeding energy," Eli said softly. Her head lifted weakly. "I told you they would come," she whispered. "I cannot hold the minds of so many humans." They screamed too loud. He moved closer. "Let me help." "You cannot," she said, closing her eyes. "My kind feeds on thought, not kindness." "Then feed," he said, desperate. "Take it from me." She looked at him sharply. "Do you know what that means?" "I don't care. You saved me. Now it's my turn." For a moment she hesitated. Then she reached out and touched his temple. The connection hit like lightning. Eli gasped as his mind flooded with images, an ancient planet of silver towers, suns swallowed by red storms, thousands of Velrathi burning in psychic fire. He felt her loneliness, her hunger, her shame. When it ended, they both collapsed. Eli's nose bled, but Saraval looked stronger, her eyes glowing again. "You shouldn't have done that," she said softly. He smiled weakly. "You're welcome." Then her expression changed. Fear. "They're coming," she said. "The one you call Hale. He carries a neural suppressor. If he uses it, I will vanish from this world." Footsteps thundered from above. Eli grabbed her arm. "We have to move!" They ran through the tunnel, ducking under fallen beams. The alarms wailed again. The station was dying. As they reached the hangar, Hale's voice echoed through the speakers. "Eli Ward, stop! You're harboring a hostile entity." Eli turned toward the sound. "She's not hostile." But Hale appeared at the other end of the bay, gun raised, eyes cold. "Step aside, Ward. That thing reads minds." "It's not human, it's a weapon." Saraval's hand tightened on Eli's wrist. "If I fight, your people will die." Eli looked at her, then at Hale. "Then we run." She nodded. Together they leapt into a small escape pod. As the hatch closed, Hale fired. The bullet grazed Eli's shoulder. The pod launched into the red mist, spinning away from Orion 9. Inside, Saraval stared at him with glowing eyes. "You just betrayed your own kind," she whispered. Eli winced, pressing his wound. "Yeah, I know." Outside, the dying station exploded behind them, painting the nebula in fire, and somewhere deep in Eli's mind her voice echoed again, gentle but dangerous. "Now human. The real hunt begins." The escape pod drifted silently through the red nebula, spinning slowly under the glow of dying stars. Inside, Eli Ward sat strapped to a seat, his shoulder bleeding. Across from him, Saraval stared through the glass window, her eyes glowing faintly crimson. The silence between them was heavy, like two storms waiting to collide. "Your kind always runs," she finally said, "even when there's nowhere left to go." Eli pressed a bandage to his wound. "And yours always hides behind power." Her gaze flicked toward him. "Power is all we had left after your people destroyed my world." Eli looked up. "You keep saying that, but I wasn't even born then." Saraval's voice softened. "But your blood remembers." The words echoed strangely in the small cabin. The lights flickered, and for a moment Eli thought it was just the ship's system failing, until he felt a pull inside his head. A cold hand brushed against his thoughts. "Sarah," he said carefully, "what are you doing?" Her eyes turned bright red. "I'm dying, Eli. The bond between us is unstable. I need to merge deeper, or both of us will burn from the inside." Eli gripped the armrest. "Merge minds?" "Yes," she whispered. "Completely." Before he could protest, her hand touched his chest. A wave of light burst from her palm, and suddenly Eli wasn't inside the pod anymore. He stood in a vast, silver field beneath two suns. Giant towers of crystal rose around him, humming with energy. The air shimmered with whispers, not sound, but thought. He could feel them, thousands of voices. The Velrathi Hive. Saraval appeared beside him, no longer pale and fragile, but radiant, like a goddess of starlight. "This was my world," she said. "Velrath Prime, before the humans came." Eli turned in awe. "It's beautiful," she smiled sadly. It was. The sky darkened. The towers began to melt, their light turning black. Screams filled the air, not from mouths but from minds being torn apart. The vision shifted to chaos, humans in armored suits burning cities, Velrathi warriors falling as fire rained from orbit. "They feared us," she said. "They called us monsters because we could read them, touch their minds, understand their hate. They destroyed what they didn't understand." Eli clenched his fists. "We're not all like that, I know," she said quietly. "But hate lives long, even after death." He looked at her, seeing something new. Loneliness. For centuries she had drifted through this nebula, sleeping inside a wrecked ship, dreaming of voices long gone. "Why tell me this?" he asked. "Because when I read your mind, I saw something impossible," she whispered. "You didn't fear me. You pitied me." Eli chuckled softly. "Maybe humans are just bad at hating for too long." Saraval stepped closer, her eyes softening. "Or maybe you are different." The field began to shake. Cracks spread through the crystal ground. A deep, echoing voice thundered across the sky. "Saraval, you have merged with a human. Unacceptable." Saraval froze. "The Hive? Who's that?" Eli asked. "My ancestors," she said. "Their minds still live. They're awakening through me." A massive shadow appeared above them. A form made of countless faces, swirling together in a storm of thought. Its voice was cold, ancient, and merciless. "Humans destroyed us. Now they must feed us." Eli shouted, "No! Leave her alone!" Saraval's body arched in pain. The light around her pulsed violently. "Eli, run!" He grabbed her hands. "I'm not leaving you." Their surroundings shattered into fragments of light. He saw flashes of her memories, her childhood under twin moons, her first feeding, her mother's last scream during the war. He held onto her tighter. "Listen to me, Sarah. You're not them. You're not that voice." Her eyes flickered between red and silver. "Eli, I can't fight them." "Yes, you can, because you're not alone anymore." Something broke. The psychic storm cracked, and silence filled the void. The shadow dissolved into dust. They both collapsed onto the ground, gasping. The vision faded, and suddenly they were back inside the pod, alarms beeping, oxygen low. Saraval lay weak but alive, her skin faintly glowing blue instead of red. Her voice trembled. "You did it. You silenced them." Eli smiled faintly. "Maybe your hive forgot something about humans." She looked at him, eyes soft. "What is that?" He leaned back, exhausted. "We don't give up on the ones we care about." For the first time, Saraval smiled, genuinely, warmly. "Then maybe your kind is not doomed after all." Outside, the pod entered the orbit of a small moon, its surface gleaming under distant light. But somewhere far behind them, deep in the nebula, the hive stirred again, watching, waiting, and this time, it had learned the human's name. "Eli Ward," it whispered across the stars, "the mind that defied us." The dawn rose over the silent blue moon. Silver dust shimmered across the horizon, and the wreck of the escape pod lay half-buried like a fallen monument. Eli Ward stood on the ridge, staring at the faint light breaking through the nebula clouds. His body ached, but his mind was sharp. Behind him, Saraval walked slowly, her long silver hair flowing in the soft wind. For the first time, she was breathing Earth's kind of air. Not the psychic mist of her kind, not the cold void between stars, just air, and it didn't burn her skin anymore. "You're quiet," Eli said, glancing at her. "I'm listening," she whispered. "Your world, your thoughts." The silence between them, he smiled faintly. "You can still read me?" "Not as before," she said softly. "Now it feels more like hearing a heartbeat." They both turned as the ground began to shake. A shadow crossed the sky, a massive human cruiser, its engines humming like thunder. Eli's eyes widened. "That's Commander Hale's ship." Saraval's expression hardened. "He tracked you." Within seconds, a dozen dropships descended through the sky, surrounding their position. Soldiers in black armor stepped out, weapons drawn. Hale himself emerged, helmet off, his face grim and cold. "Step away from the alien ward." Eli raised his hands, trying to stay calm. "You don't understand. She's not the enemy. She's a Velrothi," Hale said sharply. "The same monsters who slaughtered colonies for centuries. You've gone rogue, Eli. You're protecting something that shouldn't exist." Saraval stepped forward slowly. "Your words are echoes of the past. You fear what you don't know." Hale pointed his rifle at her. "You're not fooling me, parasite." Eli moved between them. "She's not what you think. She saved me. She fought her own kind to stop another war." Hale hesitated, his finger trembling on the trigger. "You're too close, Ward. You can't see it anymore." Suddenly the sky darkened again. A pulse of red light shot across the clouds. The Hive fleet had arrived. Dozens of ghostly ships emerged from the nebula, silent and smooth like shadows made of metal and memory. Every soldier froze. Saraval's voice dropped to a whisper. "They're here for me." The ships hovered motionless. A deep hum rolled across the valley as a psychic projection filled the air. A colossal face, ancient and emotionless. "Child of Velrath," it said, "you betrayed your blood. Now return and feed the Hive." Eli stood beside her, his jaw clenched. "You'll have to go through me first." The face turned toward him. "Human, you carry our mark now. You are part of us." Saraval shook her head. "No, he carries something you never understood. Choice." She reached out, taking Eli's hand. A silver light spread from her skin into his, their bond flaring alive again. Together they faced the Hive's shadow. "Eli," she whispered, "if I fall, end it." "Not happening," he said. "We end this together." Their joined energy surged, expanding into a blinding halo. The Hive ships fired beams of psychic energy, but the light around them held firm, shimmering like liquid fire. The human soldiers watched in stunned silence as a human and a Velrothi fought side by side, one heart, two souls. The light burst outward, flooding the sky. Every Hive ship froze midair. The psychic storm collapsed, swallowed by their combined will. The voice of the Hive screamed across the stars, and then faded into nothing. When the light finally dimmed, the sky was blue again. The ships were gone. Only the hum of Hale's cruiser remained. Eli fell to his knees, exhausted. Saraval knelt beside him, smiling faintly. "It's done," he whispered. She nodded weakly. "The Hive is gone. But their memory will linger. Inside us." Hale approached slowly, his weapon lowered. He looked at Saraval, then at Eli. "I saw what you did. I can't explain it. But maybe the war's been over longer than we thought." Saraval stood, her voice gentle. "The war ends when hearts stop fearing what they don't understand." Eli looked up at Hale. "Then maybe it's time we learn." Hale gave a small nod. "Maybe it is." As the sun rose higher, the soldiers packed up. The battle was over, but something new had begun. A fragile peace. Eli turned to Saraval. "What happens now?" She smiled softly. "Now, we build something both our worlds can call home." He reached for her hand again. "Together?" She looked at him, eyes shimmering with light. "Together." The wind brushed through the silver dust, carrying away the last whispers of the Hive. And far above the blue moon, where the light touched both human steel and alien crystal, a new promise was born, and that love, courage, and understanding could bridge even the darkest stars. The small moon hung silent beneath the burning nebula. The crashed escape pod lay half buried in silver dust, smoke rising from its cracked hull. Eli Ward sat outside it, tightening a bandage around his arm. The wind here carried no sound, only a faint hum like electricity in the air. Inside the pod, Saraval lay still. Her skin glowed softly blue now, no longer red. She looked peaceful, but Eli could tell something was wrong. Her fingers twitched, her face tightened, and sometimes she whispered words that made no sense. He leaned closer. "Sarah." Her eyes snapped open, but they weren't hers anymore. The glow inside them was pure white, empty, endless. Human. The voice that came from her mouth wasn't her own. It was layered, hundreds of voices speaking as one. Eli's heart pounded. No, not you again. We are the Hive, the last of Velrath's memory. You have touched what you cannot understand. Eli stood back. She's not your puppet. She was born from us. She belongs to us. Saraval's body rose slowly off the floor, floating in midair. The walls of the pod began to vibrate. Tools lifted from the ground, spinning around her. Stop! Eli shouted. Her head tilted toward him. The white light in her eyes flickered, and her real voice broke through for a moment. Eli, help me. Then the Hive spoke again. We remember the fire. We remember the war. The humans ended our kind. Now you will give us back what was taken. Eli stepped forward, shouting above the noise. You think revenge will bring your people back? You're killing her! The wind inside the pod roared. The psychic energy hit him like a wall. He fell to his knees, clutching his head. His own memories started flashing before his eyes. His mother's voice, his childhood on Earth, the first time he looked up at the stars and dreamed. The Hive whispered inside him. Your memories. So warm, so loud, so human, they will feed us well. No, he shouted, forcing himself up. He stumbled toward Saraval, fighting against the invisible force. Sarah, listen to me. You're stronger than them. Her voice returned for a heartbeat, trembling. Eli, they're inside me. I can't hold them. Yes, you can, he said. You're not like them. You saved me, remember? You chose mercy. You're more human than they are. Her body trembled violently. The light in her eyes flickered again, red, then white, then red. She is ours. The Hive screamed, not anymore. Eli grabbed her shoulders and pressed his forehead against hers. If you want to destroy humanity, you'll have to destroy me first. The world exploded in light. Eli was no longer in the pod. He was standing in a black ocean under a blood-red sky. The water was made of thought. Each ripple carried voices. Each wave carried memories. Saraval stood far away, drowning in it, screaming as the Hive tried to pull her under. He ran to her, the ocean burning his feet. Sarah! Her voice echoed weakly. Leave, Eli. They'll consume you. He grabbed her hand. Then they'll have to take us both. 1,000 ghostly figures rose from the water, the Velrathi ancestors, their faces twisted in rage. They circled him, whispering, human, thief of souls, destroyer of worlds. Eli shouted back, you're wrong. You're the ones who forgot what love meant. She remembers it. For the first time, the figures hesitated. Saraval lifted her head, tears glowing red on her cheeks. Eli, he squeezed her hand. Remember who you are. You're Saraval. You're not a weapon. A sudden surge of light burst from her chest, bright, alive, human. It spread across the black ocean, burning the ghostly forms to dust. The sky cracked open, and the voices of the Hive screamed in pain before vanishing into silence. When Eli opened his eyes again, they were back inside the escape pod. The tools lay scattered, the wind was gone, and Saraval was in his arms, breathing weakly. He whispered, it's over. Her eyes fluttered open, soft and tired. No, she murmured. It's only beginning. They will come for me now. And for you. Eli helped her sit up. Then let them come. We'll face them together. She looked at him with a small, fragile smile. You are the strangest human I have ever met. He chuckled softly. Get used to it. Outside, the silver moon glowed beneath the crimson storm. And in the far distance beyond the fog, a faint light began to move. The Hive's awakening fleet hunting their lost daughter. The hunt had begun again, but this time she wasn't alone. The crimson storm outside had finally settled into silence. The escape pod sat hidden inside a canyon of silver rock. Smoke drifted upward like ghosts. Inside, Eli Ward sat beside Saraval, who rested against the wall with her eyes closed. Her breathing was shallow, uneven. The glow beneath her skin pulsed erratically like a light fading in and out. Eli tightened his grip on her hand. You're burning up. You need rest. Her voice came faint and hollow. It's not the body that burns, Eli. It's the mind. They're inside me again. The Hive never dies. It waits. Eli leaned closer. Then let me help you. Tell me what to do. Saraval opened her eyes slightly. You can't. This is my battle. Eli shook his head. No, it's ours. Before she could reply, her body convulsed. A surge of psychic energy burst from her, knocking Eli backward. The walls shimmered, and strange shapes began forming from the mist, faces, wings, eyes that weren't real. Her scream echoed not through air, but through thought. Eli stumbled to his knees. "Sarah!" Her voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "Eli, I'm trapped inside my own mind. They're dragging me into the dark." He didn't think, he acted. He pressed his palm to her forehead, remembering the link that once bound them. "If you can pull me in, do it now." The world around him dissolved in an instant. Eli opened his eyes and found himself floating in darkness. There was no ground, no stars, only a faint silver light far away. He took a step, and the darkness rippled like water beneath his feet. "Sarah," he called. Her voice answered, soft and distant. "You shouldn't have come." He turned. She stood a few meters away, but something was wrong. Her form was fading, half-transparent like smoke. Behind her, the shadows twisted into the faces of the Hive, thousands of them whispering, watching. "Human," they hissed. "Why do you follow her into the pit?" Eli stood tall. "Because she's not your slave anymore." The Hive laughed. The sound was like thunder. "You think love can fight memory? You think emotion can erase centuries of pain?" Eli took another step forward. "Maybe not, but it can remind her who she is." The darkness exploded. Chains of light wrapped around Sarah Val, dragging her backward. She screamed, trying to break free. The Hive whispered through her, "He'll betray you like all humans did. He'll leave you when fear comes." Eli ran, diving through the storm of shadows. He reached for her hand, and when their fingers touched, the world shattered again. Now they stood in a memory, a golden city under twin suns. The Velrathi capital. He saw her people smiling, laughing, alive. Then the sky turned black. Explosions, screams, ships burning, humans in armored suits descending. Sarah fell to her knees. "This is where it began," she whispered. "Where everything was stolen." Eli knelt beside her. "Then change it. You can't erase the past, but you can decide what comes next." She looked at him, eyes trembling. "Why fight for me, Eli? I'm not human." He smiled faintly. "Neither are your tears." Her breath caught. The Hive's voices grew louder, furious now. "He infects you with weakness. Purge him." Sarah stood, her aura flaring red. "No," she said softly. "He gave me strength." A blinding light burst from her body, spreading across the sky. The Hive screamed, their forms melting away like ice in sunlight. The chains snapped. The golden city reappeared, whole, peaceful. Then everything went still. Eli opened his eyes back in the real world, gasping. He was on the floor of the escape pod, his head pounding. Sarah Val was beside him, awake. Her eyes were no longer red or blue. They were a calm, human shade of gray. She touched his cheek gently. "You entered my mind and lived," he smiled weakly. "Had to see what's inside that mysterious head of yours." She laughed, a real laugh, light and warm. "You're impossible." "Yeah," he said, "but you're free now." Her smile faded slightly. "Free, yes, but the Hive saw you. They know you're mine now. You're part of this war." Eli leaned back, looking at the stars through the cracked window. Then they'll find out what being human really means. Outside, the crimson fog began to clear, revealing the blue glow of a nearby planet. The silence before dawn felt heavy with promise and danger. Somewhere deep in the void, the Hive whispered again. Two minds merged. One light, the human must fall.